Hey everybody, Mr. Regan here, and today we're going to be investigating that big question that you see in the very middle of our video. How does the strength of a force affect its velocity? And to do that, we're going to be conducting a lab that uses a toilet paper spring, a jar lid, and a meter stick. And within this lab, we are going to be using different variables to investigate this very question. Now, the variables we're going to be using are the dependent, independent, and the control variables. Variables are just things that we test and things that we affect within a experiment to get specific results. So let's go ahead and talk about what our three variables are. A independent variable is something that you are testing and trying to see the results of. So it's something that you're going to be testing in order to see a specific change or result within your lab. So within our lab, we are going to be taking our toilet paper spring and we are going to be pulling it back at different strengths to see how it affects the velocity of the jar lid that it moves. And to do that, we have three specific forces. We have force 1, force 2, and force 3. So this is force 1, force 2, and force 3. And we are going to be applying all three forces to the lid to see how does that affect its velocity or how fast it moves in a specific direction. So when thinking about the independent variable, we are going to be testing the spring force. So that's going to be our independent variable, and we'll have different independent variables, okay? Our dependent variable is what you're observing change within the lab. So we're going to be testing our independent variable, so the force of our spring, and we are going to be observing our dependent variable, or the velocity of our lid. So the velocity of our lid is going to change depending on which force we obviously use. Now, within our lab, we're going to have what are called controlled variables. A control variable is nothing more than a variable that we want to keep the same. So something we want to make sure doesn't change, so it doesn't mess with our lab, doesn't mess with our results. So that might be like the quality of the counter, so how smooth or how soft or how much friction it has. That might be the size of the lid. We don't want to change it midway through our experiment. That might be the actual toilet paper spring, making sure it's the same spring, just obviously using different forces. Each one of those things we need to keep the same throughout our lab so we don't get funky results, okay? So that's our lab. That's the different types of variables, and that's obviously the question that we're going to be investigating. If you have questions, reach out to me. Otherwise, good luck.